So now digging into sort of the main questions of this panel, Bridget, maybe we'll start with you. I'd love to hear from you both on why it's actually important to have the three countries collaborating on the circular economy. Bridget, specifically, you mentioned that a lot of your you obviously have investments all over the place. It'd be great to hear from you on whether you can share examples of where it's actually been important to take that regional lens. So anything you have to share on that would be great.
Absolutely. So maybe I'll kind of focus on a couple of different things that I think are the most relevant to consider in terms of regionality and geography. So the first kind of side that we're investing in that requires kind of cross-border thinking is innovation. And the second is looking at kind of how infrastructure works, and they function pretty differently in terms of how we think about the regionality of those. So on the innovation side, we really look globally at how, with a focus on the end market of North America on innovation. And so we're not going to get all of the innovation that we need to solve some of these challenges in the US, which is where we're based. We're based in New York. And so that's kind of a primary area. But we have to cross border in order to identify innovation. And frankly, there's different market opportunities that may move faster in different markets. And these companies can grow faster, especially in a region, if they can kind of interact cross borders. So what we'll often do is we work with other investors, other venture funds, growth equity funds that are identifying pipeline. We have co-invested with investors in Mexico and Canada, and we often share pipeline. It's often important to us for, sometimes we'll come in as the lead investor and the US market is what we know the best. So we'll really take kind of the stake there. In other cases, we might need the first money out the door, but then at the next raise that a company has, we want to see a leader in Mexico or in Canada based on certain market dynamics that will help them grow. So the fact that we're able to both share pipeline and kind of identify innovation across these borders, we can look at what is the real market opportunity for some of these companies. Now on infrastructure, it's a very different dynamic. Infrastructure is very local in terms of how it functions and is different region to region. That said, so what happens in the US, because of the regulations and just consumer dynamics, it's going to have a lot of differences than Canada and Mexico. But at the same time, if you look at how material moves and that transport cost, regionality is really important in order to think about the cost structure of keeping materials in circulation. So for example, if you are an upper Midwest state of the US, you have to think about where's the best place for me what's the best market for my materials? And oftentimes there's companies in Canada that geographically just make a lot more sense than sending something from upper East Coast to Southern California or something like that. So we just can't use these arbitrary borders, especially because supply chains and trade is global, and certainly because of the trade agreements in North America. So all of these are important factors. And so I guess just two quick examples. El Gramo is a refill company that we invested in based in Chile. We co-invested in this most recent round. We brought them to the US and have piloted them in New York. We feel like there's a huge opportunity in Mexico. The lead investor kind of in the next round came from Mexico. And we're talking to Canadian retailers because the policy environment up there is such that the incentives allow them to move there faster in some cases. So that cross-border is really critical. And then from an infrastructure standpoint, we've invested in companies in the upper Midwest. So Lakeshore Recycling, which is the fastest growing independent recycler in the greater Chicago kind of now Midwestern area. They've grown across the Great Lakes significantly, and their ability to be able to access those markets in Canada, which is so close to them, really improves the economics of their operations and allows them to grow faster.